Hey everyone, Rogue Gold here, and today I want to talk about a little Heartland. If you've been around for any length of time, you likely know how excited I am for The Division Heartland, the upcoming PvEVP survival spin-off for the Division franchise. Between the new setting for the game taking us out into the country with a much more diverse landscape of new places to explore, the new game mechanics like sliding and the introduction of melee weapons, the fact that survival is finally getting its evolution, there's a lot to look forward to with this game. However, all of that excitement has not blinded me. The game certainly has its challenges and obstacles that it's going to need to overcome if it's to become the success that I think myself and many others agree that it can be. And one of those obstacles in particular is what I want to focus on today. It's something I know many of you have voiced your concern over for a while on my videos, and a story in the gaming world developed recently that kind of directly ties into all of this, and so I want to go over that and talk about how Heartland can hopefully avoid it. So let's get right to it. So, as I said, one big obstacle among others that Heartland is going to face. I'll give you a moment to lock in your guesses. Three, two, one. I'll give you a hint. It starts with cheat and it rhymes with reading. That's right, it's cheating. Everyone's absolute favorite subject, and easily one of the gaming industry's most hated and deplorable aspects. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, Division is not the only franchise that has experienced and had to combat cheating. It's incredibly pervasive. Just about every online game has dealt with it at one point or another, and in the recent years, it's been a hot topic as we've seen more and more large scale, hyper popular free to play games blow up. By nature, they're more susceptible to cheats flooding the games as the price paywall doesn't exist, which is usually the primary deterrent for cheaters who get their accounts banned. Right? With a paid game, they need to rebuy the game on a new account every time they get caught, whereas free to play games have no such limitation. They can get caught and jump right back in on a new account all day long. We've seen this be a problem with big titles like Warzone, PUBG, plenty over the years, and given that Heartland will be free to play itself, it's something that Red Storm is going to have a strong grasp on if they want the game to succeed. Now, as I alluded to at the start, there was a story recently that came out very closely related to this whole subject, and it sadly paints a pretty grim picture for what Heartland's outcome could potentially be, like I said, unless Red Storm and Ubisoft have a plan to proactively combat this. So let's jump on over to that super quick. Alright, so I will leave a link to this below if you want to check it out, but today we're talking about the Cycle Frontier. Now, this news came out for the game a little bit ago. I'm a bit late to getting around to this, but again, I did think it was very relevant towards the discussion we're having, so I absolutely wanted to cover it. The basic context here is that Cycle Frontier was a free-to-play PvPvE extraction shooter, pretty much the exact same genre of game that Heartland is. Now, it wasn't a one-to-one. This game was first person, whereas we know Heartland is third person. Obviously, there were some distinct differences, but the point is, same genre, same assumed style of, monetization and player encouragement with it being free to play, all of that stuff. As you can see here, however, they announced not too long ago that the game is getting sunset, which is just a fancy way of saying it is getting shut down. And there are some very interesting circumstances that led up to that. Again, like I said, very relevant to this current story that we're going over. So let's read this. When we started developing the Cycle Frontier, we wanted to offer an approachable, free-to-play extraction shooter, again, same as Heartland, where FPS fans of varying skill experience a satisfying balancing of tense, high-stakes gameplay and rewarding progression. So again, very similar to what it sounds like Red Storm is trying to achieve with the Division Heartland. We had two closed alphas and betas with decent results, but we were not prepared for what happened next, as our final beta and official release have been met with incredible success and enthusiasm. Big streamers caught wind of the game and started playing it before hundreds of thousands of viewers. Players started flocking en masse towards the Cycle Frontier, which caused our servers to blow up and forced us to urgently upscale our infrastructure. In case you're wondering, that's a very good problem to have. Right? And this is, at least for me, exactly what I've been hoping we will end up seeing with the Division Heartland, where, yeah, obviously Division fans are going to check it out and some will like it, some probably won't. But the real hope in that Heartland being free to play is that it attracts more people from the wider gaming industry who maybe aren't currently Division fans, or maybe they like the style of game Heartland is, right? All of that stuff. That's what we're hoping to see, right? But if this happened for Cycle and they were doing so well, why did they have to shut down? Well, let's read the next part here. They said, all in all, things were looking up for the Cycle Frontier, even though we still had a long road ahead of us. The general behavior with online games after a good launch is a couple of nice weeks, then a dwindling interest until stabilization after a few months. Perhaps one of the most important periods of a live game, we faced many challenges. One of them, and perhaps the most crucial one, was the increasing number of cheaters shortly after the Cycle Frontier went live. Although we had tools and measurements in place, we quickly realized we needed to improve our anti-cheat efforts to be able to ensure a fair game experience for all players. By the time we got additional partners on board for our anti-cheat efforts and could focus on gameplay and performance improvements for the Cycle Frontier, many of you had already been affected, and as a result, we saw a significant decrease in our players. And there's the stinger. The cheaters caused a lot of people to leave. They talk about here how some stuff with the seasons, and ultimately, therefore, we are saddened to announce that the Cycle Frontier will be permanently shutting down its servers on September 27th, 2023. Right? This game that had so much potential and had the exact kind of reception that I'm hoping we see for Heartland, where people from the wider gaming industry want to jump in and try it out, ended up failing because of cheaters. And I think that is the real threat here. So I just want to make one thing clear before we go any further. Although there are similarities between Cycle Frontier and The Division Heartland, namely them being in the same genre, both being free to play, Cycle unfortunately did not have the benefit of being backed by one of the industry's largest publishers, as Heartland is with Ubisoft. That certainly doesn't mean that Heartland is immune to these types of issues, and that's what we're going to discuss. But whereas Cycle's article detailed how they had to seek additional resources and partners to try and combat this isn't Ubi's first rodeo with online games and cheating, and so Red Storm should hopefully have those tools and resources that are needed much more readily available. That said, I find all of this to still be incredibly relevant and important. It is super tragic that a game like Cycle had to shut down, at least partly because they couldn't get a handle on cheaters. I know if I were in that community and fan base, that would infuriate and sadden me to no end. Like I said, I think we're lucky that Heartland is positioned a bit better to hopefully combat this issue, but the story of what has happened to the Cycle Frontier is just an incredibly pointed reminder that this stuff is no joke. Cheating in games is not only frustrating in the moment-to-moment gameplay when you fall victim to it, but if it's not contained at least somewhat, it can pose a threat to your entire operation. And this will be especially true for Heartland, given the game is confirmed to have full cross-play support. Now, I don't know how recommended or optional that setting might be, but while cheating is usually a primarily PC platform issue, anyone who wants to utilize crossplay is going to be equally susceptible to this. And so I really hope that Red Storm and Ubisoft are considering this stuff now, hopefully have a plan in place for how to stem cheating in the game as much as possible, and B, are at least recognizing how significant this issue is, right? The truth of the matter is that no game has fully solved this issue. No matter how airtight developers or publishers might hope or claim their systems are, no game has fully purged cheating. But you can tell pretty clearly which games take it seriously and which don't, and there are many steps that can be taken to help alleviate the problem. For example, make it easy for players to report cheating encounters they run into. Now, this can be easily abused, so these systems shouldn't be fully or even primarily automated, but allowing players to help identify the culprits, giving the devs the staff and resources to be able to monitor these reports full time. And then when they do identify cheaters, taking the fullest action possible, like IP banning instead of just account banning. All of those things help not only the tangible issue, but it also shows your community that you take this stuff seriously and you're doing your very best to combat it. Like I said, no game has fully solved the issue of cheating, and if you go into Heartland with your bar being, I should never encounter a single cheater, I'm sorry to say that's just not going to be the case. But there is a huge spectrum in effort and resources being put into combating cheating. Taking a look at the story with Cycle Frontier, we've now seen an example of a game that didn't have the proper infrastructure to combat this, and so hopefully, with that in mind, Red Storm and Ubisoft can take the appropriate action to not make Heartland next in line for that same fate. There's so much to look forward to with this game, and the topic of cheating isn't glamorous. It's not something we want to have to think about, let alone dedicate a video to like I am right now. But even an 11 out of 10 perfect game could be at risk of dying if it were to not monitor cheating whatsoever. And so I hope this helps raise some awareness for a major obstacle that Heartland is going to need to overcome if it is to attain the success that it's wanting. That's all I've got for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts. I know it's a drag to even think about it, but how significant do you view cheat combating, especially in the free-to-play sphere? And given what went down with the Cycle Frontier recently, how do you see Heartland handling this situation, and what do you hope Ubisoft will do to prevent it? As I said, not a fun topic, but a very important one, I think, so leave all of your thoughts below. I'll be very curious to read them. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date with everything on The Division Heartland leading to its release, then be sure to click that subscribe button. I post news breakdowns as soon as we learn them and do discussion topics like these in between. If you want live updates on Division franchise server statuses, news posts, new video alerts from myself, we've got all of those and more set up in our Discord server, linked down in the description below. You can find my Twitter and other social links there as well for maximum coverage. That is going to do it for me today, though, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe. I'll see you in the next one. Rogue Gold.